So, how do you pass the management accounting examination? What are the key topics you have to focus on to increase your chances of passing the management accounting examination? This is one of the common questions that I receive every time, and it is one of the subjects that students struggle with a lot. Generally, the pass rate for the management accounting exams, it's far below 30%, and it's because of the fact that students fail to understand the fundamental topics, the fundamental principles that must be taken care of and well understood so that you can position yourself to understand the entire syllabus well and, most importantly, pass the examination. Now, if you look at the management accounting syllabus as well as the examination, there are going to be questions coming in from each aspect of the syllabus. There will be something that is relating to preparation of the budget or budget preparation. There is something that is going to be based on variance analysis. We're going to be seeing something on short-term decisions, make or buy, shutdown decision, relevant cost analysis, limiting factor analysis, probably throughput accounting if you want to put it that way. Then also performance measurements, either divisionalization, transfer pricing, or issues relating to other aspects of performance measurement. Then we are going to be having models of evaluation, various issues coming in from there. But in order for you to understand these topics and position yourself to be able to pass the examination, remember, investment appraisal is also one of the topical areas that you must understand. Now, to understand all these topics, there are key principles that you have to pay attention to, and that is what I want to take you through today, discuss with you so that you position yourself to be able to pass the examination. Starting your management accounting syllabus or journey means that there are two topics that you have to focus on. Number one is cost classification. You must understand classification of cost according to nature, according to behavior, according to function, according to the various models of classification, because that helps you to understand the various aspects of how management accounting is structured and how entities can account for cost. But not only that, accounting for overheads is also very crucial, because the way an entity account for the overheads affects the way the cost sheet will be prepared or the cost card will be prepared, will affect the way we prepare the profit statement, will affect the way variance analysis will be done, will affect the way performance measurement relating to transfer pricing calculation, will even affect the way we have to deal with investment appraisal. So accounting for overheads is also the second key topic that you must understand. But in cost classification and accounting for overheads, there are three fundamental principles that set the tone for you to be able to actually understand the entire management accounting syllabus and position you to be able to ultimately pass the examination. The question then is, what are these key topics? What are these key principles? What are these fundamental concepts that we must understand in order to make the management accounting syllabus easier to understand and, most importantly, position us to pass the examination? Number one is the absorption costing principle. Now, absorption costing is fundamental because this topic is going to be, or this concept is going to be fundamental when it comes to dealing with cost sheet or cost card, preparation of the profit statement, budgetary and budgetary control, dealing with issues relating to variance analysis, talking about performance measurements, transfer pricing, investment appraisal. All of these topics, we are going to be using the costing system called the absorption costing, and we are going to be applying the principle. So it is important you know the various bases of absorption of overheads. We have the direct material cost, the direct labor cost, the prime cost, we have the direct labor hours, we have the machine hours, we have the production unit. So it is important you know, number one, how to calculate the overhead recovery rate or the overhead absorption rate based on each of the bases of assumption. But also it is important to then know how to then charge the actual overheads for the cost centers or the cost units. Then number three is to understand how to deal with over absorption of overheads and under absorption of overheads. This is extremely crucial, especially when it comes to dealing with the preparation of the cost sheet or the cost card, as well as the preparation of the profit statement for an organization. So it is important you understand the absorption costing principle. Spend time, understand all the basis of assumption, understand how the actual overheads will be charged, and understand how we deal with over and under assumption of absorption of overheads, and that will position you to be able to understand the other topics in the syllabus which will be using the absorption costing principle. Just opposite to the absorption costing principle is the marginal costing principle. So that is the second topic. Now, the second key thing. Now, the marginal costing principle is applicable when it comes to the short-term decisions, like I mentioned earlier. Relevant cost analysis, break-even analysis, make or buy, shutdown decision, limiting factor analysis. All of these things, you are going to be applying the marginal costing principle. It doesn't end there. Variance analysis, you are going to be calling on this. Transfer pricing, you're going to be calling on this. So the marginal costing principle is also fundamental to the management accounting syllabus and to your examination. And it is important you understand how we arrive at contribution, how we deal with the various things relating to the first course, accounting for the first course, and how that applies in the various topics to increase your chances of passing the examination. Now, when it comes to the preparation of a cost sheet or the cost card or the preparation of the profit statement under the marginal costing and absorption costing, there are distinctions that you must understand generally. Because, for instance, when it comes to valuation of closing inventories, normally under the absorption costing, closing inventory will be valued at full factory cost, which is in line with IAS 2 inventories. But in marginal costing, inventory will be valued at only variable factory cost. So it is important you understand the distinctions between these two and know how the principles will apply in the respective areas of the syllabus so you can be able to pass the examination. The same marginal costing principle is going to be applying in investment appraisal, because under investment appraisal, you take into consideration only the relevant cost, relevant information when you are dealing with the investment appraisal and appraising the project, especially when you are using the internal rate of return or the break-even rate, and also when you are using the net present value. So it is important you understand the marginal costing principle. Then the third and final one is the activity-based costing. You know, the limitation on the absorption costing principle is that we use predetermined overhead absorption rate to apportion or absorb the overheads to the various cost centers or cost units. But in activity-based costing, we are going to be absorbing the overheads using the activities that the cost centers or cost units actually undertook during the period under review. So in activity-based costing, two things generally must be understood. We are going to be identifying what we call the cost pool, which is the major activities that the entity undertakes, and then the cost drivers, which is the number of activities which causes the cost. So let me give you an example. Let's say we are in a typical manufacturing organization. What are the major activities for a typical manufacturing organization? Production scheduling. That's a major activity. Ordering of raw material. That is a major activity. Delivering of goods to customers, that's a major activity. So these are the major activities. So all the costs that relates to scheduling our production department, ordering of inventories, delivering of the inventories to final consumers, all those things will be put into cost pool. So we'll have production scheduling costs, we'll have delivery costs, we'll have issues relating to ordering costs. These are called the cost pool. Then we have to ask ourselves, what are the cost drivers? The cost drivers are the number of activities which causes the cost. So if we come to delivery cost, it is based on the number of deliveries. If you come to ordering cost, it is based on the number of orders. If you come to production scheduling cost, it will be based on the number of production runs or number of production setup. So in activity-based costing, we identify the cost pool, identify the cost driver, and match it together. Why is this important? Because from there, we can then calculate the overhead recovery rate, or what we call the overhead absorption rate. Now, the overhead recovery rate will be the cost pool divided by the total cost drivers for all of the cost centers and cost units that we have in a specific question that we are looking at. Once we calculate the overhead recovery rate per the cost pool, we now apportion that or absorb that into the specific cost centers using the actual number of activities that they undertook relating to the cost pool that is being dealt with. And these are the three key issues that you must understand so you can position yourself to pass the examination. When it comes to preparation of the cost card or the cost sheet, dealing with transfer pricing and budgeting and other aspects of the syllabus, you are going to be called on as well to apply the activity-based costing principle. So if you want to pass the management accounting examination, these are the three things you must understand: absorption costing, marginal costing, activity-based costing. These three things will be underpinned by cost classification and absorption of overheads. If you do this, I can guarantee you will be able to position yourself to understand the management accounting syllabus, but most importantly, you'll be able to pass the examination and become successful.